Hey guys, I'm Tiana Attride, Senior Editor of Social and Video at Afar, and I am here live, as you can see, in Times Square, center of the universe.
Times Square may be some of the most controversial 3 acres on the planet. Tourists plan entire trips around it, many New Yorkers won't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but today we're on a mission to prove that Times Square can be fun and interesting and even elevated, so long as you know the right places to look. And we're going to spend 24 hours here to do it. Here are the rules. 1. The boundaries. Technically, Times Square is the 5 blocks between 42nd and 47th Streets from Broadway to 7th Avenue, but we're going to allow the theater district since those two often go hand in hand. 2. Our headquarters is the beautiful Civilian Hotel, just 5 minutes from the center of it all, but besides a few hours of sleep, our goal is to spend the majority of our time exploring. And 3, there will be absolutely no pictures with the Times Square Elmo or any costume characters on our itinerary, nor should there be on yours. Before we get started, today's video is sponsored by the Broadway Collection. No visit to New York City is complete without seeing a Broadway show. From the groundbreaking Hamilton to timeless classics like The Lion King, there's a show for everyone. Get tickets through the official sellers at BroadwayCollection.com, book ahead for an unforgettable experience, and make Broadway the highlight of your NYC adventure. And that's it. 24 hours starts now. My partner and I arrived in Times Square just after 3 p.m., just in time for a late lunch. Since it wasn't quite time for check-in, we dropped off our bags at the hotel and headed for Margon, an almost 40-year-old hole-in-the-wall Cuban restaurant known for its sandwiches. Once we were all fueled up, we took the first of many strolls through the center of Times Square. Since it was the end of October, there was a massive Diwali celebration happening in the middle of it all, which was a very New York moment. By 4 o'clock, it was officially time to check into our hotel. We stayed at the Civilian on West 48th and 8th Ave, and not just because it's close to the main drag. I'd heard from other Afar staffers that this is a special place to stay if you love Broadway shows, and I have to agree after staying there. They've got these light, airy communal spaces that feel nice and secluded if you need a break from the chaos of the neighborhood. But the real highlights are the original set models and props from the last century of Broadway they've got inside their downstairs bar and restaurant. So cool. We went upstairs and dropped our bags in the room, and then it was off to our first stop of the night, Valerie. Now, if you love a cool cocktail bar or a great gin and tonic as much as I do, you'll fit right in here. The main bar is such a statement piece, and it casts this golden glow over the entire room. There's also a restaurant in the back if you want to sit and stay a while. We kicked off our night with a gin cocktail, an espresso martini, and some people watching from the second-story bar. We would have hung out all evening, but we had a dinner reservation to make.
Okay, the time is now quarter past 6. We are on our way to Din Tai Fung.
When Din Tai Fung first opened in New York, it was one of the city's most difficult to nab reservations. In fact, you still need to make a res far in advance. This Taiwanese restaurant is extremely famous throughout Asia and is known for introducing soup dumplings or xiaolongbao to the United States. Naturally, we ordered pork xiaolongbao plus cucumber salad, spinach with garlic, spicy wontons, and shrimp fried rice. As we were wrapping up our meal, it was getting close to 7, so the time had come for the main event, The Lion King on Broadway. As you can see, the evening crowds were really starting to pick up here, so we had to hustle to make the show on time. The Lion King has been running since November 1997, making it the 3rd longest running show in Broadway history. As a former theater kid myself, I was ashamed to say that I had never seen the show on stage before, so thank you to our friends at the Broadway Collection for helping to remedy that. Naturally, no photography was allowed during the show, so we'll see you after the curtains close.
Again, I have to use a little microphone because it's so loud, but in the light of the billboards, we just came out of The Lion King, and it was fabulous. The costumes actually made me tear up in the first 30 seconds. The night has only just begun. It is 10:30, I think, right now. So we're off for a night out.
We ventured up to West 46th for this next one, technically putting us out of bounds, but it was unskippable. If you want to feel like you're in New York City in the most classic sense, hit the Carnegie Club during their Sinatra Saturdays. We sat sipping drinks, listening to a singer who sounded exactly like Frank Sinatra and chatting with his fabulous wife, who was born in the Bronx, about whether the Yankees were going to make it to the World Series this year, which they did that very night. It really doesn't get more New York City than that.
The time is now
1:15.
and we're going to karaoke.
Afterward, we figured, what's a late night out without some karaoke? We headed to RPM Underground, a bar and vinyl record shop on West 54th with private karaoke rooms for rent. We'll spare you the singing, lucky you, not only because we don't want you to hear that we're tone deaf, but also because we don't own the rights to these songs anyway. After one too many Oasis tracks, we decided to call it a night and headed through the silent streets of the theater district back to our hotel. And now, after almost 2 hours of karaoke, we've arrived at almost 3:30 in the morning, so we're about halfway through our 24 hours, and it's time to go to bed. The theater district is best suited to night owls. Things stay open late, and there's not much open before 9 in the morning, which in our sleep-deprived case was a great thing.
Good morning. As you may be able to hear, the karaoke hit pretty hard last night, but we are on hour 17 at this point, and we are off to get some very much needed coffee.
After a quick stop at Bibble and Sip on West 51st for coffee, we quickly packed up our hotel room so that we didn't miss our checkout time, and then headed off to yet another must-visit for theater lovers and one of my favorite stops, the Museum of Broadway. What may surprise you about the Museum of Broadway is that it is massive. The staircase to the top is designed to look like the backstage stairs in a theater with old photos lining the walls. The museum itself is a maze of memorabilia with the history of Broadway's most famous shows and talents, costumes and props from across the decades, and even a section on how a production comes to life. Noon came around, and I decided it was time to make a quick stop just for me. I cannot resist the allure of the line store. There are just too many cute Korean knickknacks to pass up on it. There's also a little photo booth in the back, so we popped in for a picture. 1 hour, 2 photo strips, and a $10 bag purchase later, we were headed into the final leg of our adventure. After a bit of a stroll around, we headed to the Drama Bookshop, which, again, is technically just 1 block outside of the theater district, but should not be missed out on if you're a theater fan or a history buff. This bookstore has been around for more than 100 years. It almost shut down in 2019, but Lin-Manuel Miranda himself saved it from closing. Inside, they've got everything from scripts to theater memorabilia and books on costumes, tech, Broadway history, and more. It was 1 p.m. and the time for lunch had come around yet again. I figured the last few hours would be the most difficult to get through, and I was right. Frankly, we were exhausted by this point, but luckily, I knew the cure. Boqueria is my go-to restaurant recommendation in the theater district, especially if you're catching a matinee. The tapas here are exactly what one needs after navigating chaotic crowds, whether for 1 hour or, in our case, almost 24. We admittedly went a little nuts. We had mushroom croquettes, patatas bravas, flatbread with caramelized onions and black garlic, and seafood paella to top it all off. I'm still thinking about all of it. That was our congratulatory meal, but our legendary final stop was still to come. What more fitting place to end a journey through Times Square than Margaritaville, which is so uncool but ironically glorious at the same time. Sure, it was only 3 p.m., but as they say here, it was 5 o'clock somewhere. We slid up to the bar, put in our order, and with that final drink, our 24 hours was complete. Well, we're headed back to Brooklyn, but thank you guys so much for joining us on this quest. If there's anything else in Times Square or the theater district that we missed, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.